This is CNN Newsroom with Lynda Kinkade.
We begin with new details on the investigation into the apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump in Florida. We're now learning the suspect, Ryan Wesley Ruth, may have been lying in wait for nearly 12 hours along the tree line at the Trump International Golf Club before he was spotted by a Secret Service agent and fled in a car. The moment of Ruth's arrest, a short time later, caught on body cam video. You can see him with his hands up as officers quickly cuff him. He appeared in court Monday and was charged with 2 federal gun-related crimes. Officials say additional charges are possible. The Secret Service says the suspect did not have a line of sight on Trump, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff says the suspect, quote, didn't even get close to getting a round off. Trump is praising the Secret Service and other law enforcement for their actions and is publicly recounting what appears to be a second attempt on his life.
I was playing golf with some of my friends. It was on a Sunday morning and very peaceful, very beautiful weather. Everything was beautiful. It was a nice place to be. And all of a sudden we heard shots being fired in the air. And I guess probably 4 or 5. And it sounded like bullets, but what do I know about that? But Secret Service knew immediately it was bullets. And they grabbed me.
CNN's Paula Reed is following developments from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Driver! Walk straight back!
New dramatic footage of the moment Ryan Wesley Routh was taken into custody. Martin County police apprehending the suspect as he fled after an apparent assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump while he was golfing Sunday afternoon.
The security level at Mar-a-Lago is the highest it can possibly be now.
Routh appeared before a federal judge in West Palm Beach, wearing dark prison scrubs, his hands and feet shackled. Routh was charged with 2 counts: possession of a firearm while convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Investigators believe Routh had been lying in wait nearly 12 hours along the tree line near the golf course. Newly unsealed court records show Routh's mobile phone was in the vicinity from approximately 1:59 a.m. until 1:31 p.m. Authorities say Secret Service officers clearing the golf course ahead of the former president first noticed the suspect.
He noticed that the rifle was pointed out. Our agents engaged.
Palm Beach police released photos of the scene showing the gun, along with a backpack and GoPro camera mounted on the fence.
Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He jumped into a black Nissan, and I took a picture of the vehicle and the tag, which was great.
Police were able to quickly get that information out to surrounding areas and track the suspect's SUV in nearby Martin County.
He was smart. He was just driving with the flow of traffic. Yeah, I think that he may have thought he got away with it. I was able to get to the scene shortly after the stop, and I saw him in the car. His facial affect was very bland. He was not emoting any emotions at all.
More details are emerging about Routh's background.
Putin is a terrorist, and he needs to be ended.
He was outspoken on his strong support for Ukraine, encouraging foreigners to fight in the war. He also criticized Trump in his self-published book on geopolitics and has contributed more than $100 to Act Blue, which processes donations to Democrats.
It is expected that additional charges will likely be filed in this case as the investigation continues. Routh will be back in federal court next week for a detention hearing where prosecutors are expected to argue that he should remain detained ahead of a possible trial because he not only presents a flight risk but also a danger to the community. He will be formally arraigned on September 30th. Paula Reed, CNN, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Joining me now from Palm Springs, California is Bobby Chacon, a retired FBI special agent and former leader of an FBI dive team. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Linda.
So 2 attempted assassination attempts on a former president in as many months. How unusual is this, and does it point to an issue with the Secret Service or intelligence or some other problem?
Well, the last time in my life I can remember this is the 70s when I was in high school, and Gerald Ford, I think, was shot twice or shot at twice within a short period of time but certainly never like this. Never anything this close to ending his life as it happened in Pennsylvania, and like we saw this weekend. So yeah, I think we're starting to get into unprecedented territory, and everybody's worried about now the next attempt. This is a man who, Iran, a state sponsor of terrorism, has put a price on his head. So they certainly have more sophisticated ways of carrying out an attack than, say, either of the two shooters that we've seen so far. And so, yeah, there is serious concern about Trump's safety and, and whether or not the Secret Service is getting all the resources that they need.
And let's talk about the man arrested, Ryan Wesley Roth, 58 years old. He's voted Democrat in the past. He's also voted for Trump and now regrets it. The FBI is exploring whether he acted alone. What will law enforcement be doing right now to get answers to that question, but also to questions around his motivation?
Well, the FBI has something called the SOMEX, which is a social media exploitation team, and they are experts at just diving into the digital footprint and seeing, who he was associated with, who he chatted with, who he liked, posts of, and who liked his posts. I mean, the data they can access and analyze is tremendous. So they have a good picture of at least his online persona right now. They've also probably been talking to friends, family, coworkers, professional associates, anybody that he had contact with on a regular basis in his life. They probably, to get the picture of him as a person, because sometimes we know that online persona could be different than the person. So they're doing both of those things to develop a bigger picture of who he was. I mean, it's a political assassination, so the implied motive is always, in a political assassination, is always you don't want that person to ascend to power, or you want them out of power. I mean, Hinckley was a one-off because he shot Reagan because he was obsessed with an actress. And so that was, I think, an outlier. Most political assassinations have the implied motive of you want to stop that person from getting power or staying in power.
I wonder if we can just show some footage of Trump on his golf course for our viewers. It was filmed by our crews who were stationed outside his club on public land while he was in office. You can clearly see Trump in his red cap. You see him going around in his golf buggy. Now this is a golf club that reportedly charges over $300,000 in initiation fees before the annual membership fees. And according to cell phone data, it indicates from the scene on the weekend that Ruth may have spent nearly 12 hours on Sunday near the area where he was spotted in the bushes with his rifle. How much onus is there on Trump to improve security at his own property?
Well, I mean, look, the property, always has a property line, and he was outside the property line. So in other words, he probably wasn't literally inside the fence line. He looked like he was outside the fence, pointing the rifle through the fence. He, as we have heard, he was there for almost 12 hours. So he probably went in there, because he knew on Sunday mornings early, as soon as it's light out, people are walking their dogs, they're jogging, they're whatever. So he went in there while it was still dark in the middle of the night, parked his car a little down the road, and then got himself inside those thick, heavy bushes so no one could see him in there. He brought food with him. He brought everything he needed to carry out this attack. So, I mean, I think that the security at the golf course was probably not an issue. Because, golf courses are huge. I live on a golf course here in California. I mean, you couldn't possibly encapsulate it. They had a fence up. He was outside that fence pointing the rifle through the fence. And like I said, he went in under the cover of darkness. That's why he was there for 12 hours. He didn't want to try to get himself into those bushes in daylight when somebody might have seen him.
Hey, can you explain for us how the protection of a sitting president compares to that of a former president?
Yeah, I mean, a sitting president has so much more resources allocated to them, and even the vice president, because they are under more of a threat usually. And so 24/7, more people on every shift, more people around the house, around the family. And as presidents leave office, the longer they're out of office, longer they're out of public life, the older they get, the less public appearances they make. They scale down that security detail, as the person gets older and stays out of public life more. So as a prior president, he has a fairly substantial detail, but nowhere near what a sitting president has. They go everywhere, motorcades, just larger motorcades, more support. It's just a much larger detail and much more resources dedicated to a sitting president.